Marty, there's so much to talk about. It's crazy.
To me, this was it's the end of the year. It's a fascinating end of the year. For the Liberals, like we're talking Liberals for everything.
Well, and it can't come soon enough for them.
I think Trudeau right now is like he's overwhelmed. We've said this before, but he's acting weird. I know that they have 3 more days, like more than 3 more days. This session of Parliament ends on Tuesday, so Monday, Tuesday the 16th. And
well, did you see the Conservatives are trying to drag it out longer because they want answers to the questions about their budget, everything.
There's been no business. Like they're stalled. There's been no business. But I mean, between you and me, I like it this way, like, because they're not passing any stupid laws and like they're really stalled. I mean, they're so, like, you know, they're still very confidently talking about the GST break and the $250 checks next year, whatever. They're not approved. Like, none of that's approved. No. You know, they
well, the GST holiday is going to happen, right?
The GST holiday is happening because that's just an adjustment, right? They just tell the CRA, you know, we don't collect the GST for 2 months, so that doesn't require anything more than that. But the giving $250 checks, that's not happening. Not until it gets that needs to be voted. But actually, coincidentally, we need to talk about this. There was a vote in the House of Commons last night. They snuck one in late last night. Bill 79 was voted and made 3rd reading in the House of Commons. Now it goes to Parliament, to the Senate for their.
And what bill was that? Was 79?
Bill 79 is one where the Liberals want another $21.6 billion in spending. They want to increase the budget, which hasn't been voted on, by $21 billion. It's mostly military spending and First Nation spending, which is why, and they snuck that one in, which explains also why you know, the mainstream journalists have caught on to this. The Liberals have not provided a fiscal update. There's one that's due, like they call it the fall fiscal update, right? The semi-annual update. And Freeland said, I'll provide it on the 16th. It's like, are you kidding me? The 16th, the last day of Parliament this year, is that when you're gonna. So yeah, they're in trouble because their spending's out of control. Like it's between. So in the last economics forecast, they were forecasting a $40 billion deficit. Okay. Yesterday, they added $21 billion, so that makes it about 60. The $250 checks that they want to give to everybody, to 18 million Canadians, that's another $7 billion. So I've lost track in my head, but they're at about $70 or $80 billion deficit forecasted, and we're halfway through the calendar, the budget year. So the spending of the Liberals is out of control. Completely out of control.
Way out of control. And yeah. I mean, everyone is speculating about where it's going to go. I mean, obviously, I got this one clip. I wanted to share this one because this is Chrystia Freeland not saying where it's going to go at all. Like, just trying to avoid it like the plague. It's crazy.
Have leaked to the media that the deficit will be $60 billion or more. So is it going to be that higher or lower?
Mr. Perkins, because a Conservative filibuster has blocked the work of our Parliament.
Mr.
Somebody else is
involved. Your unwillingness to produce the documents.
No,
but I would ask you a simple question.
Is the
deficit going to be higher or lower than the $60 billion your officials have leaked to the media?
I think that it is very important not to cast any doubt on Canada's financial credibility. So I want to take this opportunity to be very clear that Canada's fiscal position is strong and sustainable and continues.
Yes or no? It's a simple question.
To be
Why won't you answer whether or not it'll be above or below 60 billion? Did you officials.
Strongest in the G7, she says, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it one bit. Obviously, we're borrowing way more money. We're throwing money at foreign countries. Again, all the wasteful stuff that we keep reading about. Every time somebody digs into the things. I like reading.
Well, she's mad because
on Twitter, because she has a lot of the just absolutely ridiculous things that the government is spending money on. It would be so easy to cut all that. It would be so easy to cut all that. We don't have to cut programs or things for poor Canadians.
No, exactly. No, but Freeland in that, and she's mad there, which is weird because normally she just not weird that she's mad. Normally she just ignores them and tries with her own answer. But you can see she's frustrated because she's being hammered on that same point outside in the scrum. People and she's she went as far as saying, "Oh, those are all rumors or whatever." It's like no. Like we can do the math, lady. Like she was repeating like best in the G7 and best GDP to debt ratio, and everybody's finally waking up and nobody's cutting her any slack anymore. Like the media is doing their job. The media is not doing their job. I mean, the media is turning against them temporarily, because they're smelling blood. But
here's the thing. So what they're doing is they're using numbers that they've flubbed. I mean,
yes.
We've got the GDP numbers flubbed. We've got the CPI numbers flubbed. They just keep changing the metrics just so it looks good. But the reality is that now, she's saying, don't send out the signals that the Canadian economy is not doing hot. We don't want to send those out. She's talking about vibe session being that principle. The idea if people don't feel right, they're not going to go out and spend their money. And here's the thing. Then institutions like the Bank of Canada will follow suit based on flubbed numbers, giving us poor decision making in a time where they shouldn't be making those decisions based on bad metrics.
Yeah, and so a couple of things in there. I mean, a lot of people tell me kind of like you just did. The number is a bit flubbed. I'm going, yeah, but I'm using even with their twisted numbers, the numbers are bad. You know what I mean? Like they're so bad that. And I'm not above using their data against them. I agree, right? I agree that inflation is probably higher than it is, but hey, if their number says 3, that's bad enough for me. I mean, I'm sure it's 4, but even that 3%, I'll put it in their face. It's bad. Same with the debt to GDP. They keep telling us, oh, we're keeping it under whatever 40%. Well, no, actually, by your own metric, which I don't believe in, but your own metrics are showing that you're failing. So. It's an interesting week for them. I mean, they're failing on. Well, you mentioned the Bank of Canada that came out today. And
it came out today. I wanted to share this one. I really wanted to share this because this is another one of their lapdogs that go out into X and brag about how good they're doing. Liberals did both. Invested in Canada and brought down interest rates and inflation faster than any major economy. Pierre lied to you when he said dental care, childcare, and school food is inflationary and needs cuts. And then here we are. Bank of Canada delivers extra large cut. Interest rate drops to 3.25%. Why are they doing this? Why is it that they're pushing this? My opinion.
If you play Tiff Macklin's explanation today, Tiff will actually tell you that he dropped the interest rate because we have to try and soften the blow of the recession that's happening right now. So, and these types of stories were very few. Remember, a year ago, or whatever. 6 months ago.
I want to translate that. One sec. We want to soften the blow by doing what? By lowering interest rates so people can take out more debt, and
we got to increase
more
spending.
Debt
we gotta
lift prices up further. It's inflationary. It's crazy. You're chasing your own tail by doing this kind of action. It's crazy. We need higher interest rates to correct for the malinvestments.
But they're not going. It's
not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. But today, you could, like 6 months ago when there was some of the first few interest rates, sure, the Liberals jumped all over it. Look, our plan's working, quote unquote. Today, there was hardly any of them because they've been called out now too many times. I mean, it is so bad that the Liberals might as well just shut up at this point, because nothing, every single tweet that they say, they get ratioed. I mean, Stephen Guilbeault today said our plan's working, and 800 people responded, no, it's not. Like, your plan's not, like, our plan's working.
It's not.
It's not. Like,
it's not. And
no.
we're in a terrible economic situation in Canada. And what are we doing? We're poking the bear. We're poking our largest trading partner that has a new president that's going to be coming into office in January. And obviously he has an agenda. He has reasons to put on or threaten tariffs.
Well, he has
before.
You can call it an agenda, but he has a mandate. His mandate is to protect the American people and to make their lives better. So he's going to do that. Like, he's going to do that. That's what Donald Trump's going to do.
That's what the making America great again.
Yeah. But Trudeau, like, I wondered, because again, you saw it, right? Trump seemed to troll Trudeau again, calling him like the governor of the great 51st state of America or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. Why is Trump still trolling? But the reason is Trudeau's actually being genuine, right? On the other side, like, Trudeau was sitting in Halifax this week at a conference, and he went back to what he always does. He said Americans are going to regret electing Donald Trump. Like, he said it. He came out and said it. And then he went to another conference, and what did he say at that one? That's the one where Trudeau bragged about being a feminist, and then again he's not happy bragging about himself. He's trying to put down the Americans and doing it. Like, he literally accused the Americans. He accused the entire nation of America of being misogynist because they failed for a second time to elect a female president.
So I have that clip. I have that clip here. So this is Trudeau pulling a Joe Biden, pulling a Hillary Clinton, blaming the voters instead of blaming the politician that he disagrees with. And we can get into why that's bad, but here's what he had to say.
No, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
Oh man, he's the guy that once said that poverty is sexist. I mean, he's out to lunch, absolutely out to lunch. But here's the thing: you don't blame voters because it didn't go your way. That's democracy. I thought you're the champion of democracy, Justin Trudeau. Isn't that?
He didn't just blame the voters. The very first sentence he said was like, "We were on a march to progress, and then the Americans did this." Like, he basically, in one simple sentence, I mean, when I hear that, if I was an American, I heard that, I'd be like, piss off, like, screw you, right? Like, he literally,
what the hell are you to say?
Yeah, he literally called all Americans anti-progress because they didn't vote the way he wanted them to vote. And yeah, they didn't vote for Kamala Harris. Like,
a POS like him. A POS like Justin Trudeau, Kamala Harris.
But even funnier, look at, did you see who commented on that one?
Gad Sad?
Gad Sad, but did you see who commented on Gad? I think it's under Gad.
Yeah, Gad says there are no words, no sentiments, no nonverbal cues, no telepathic communications that can capture the extent to which this individual is grotesque. Elon Musk replying, saying he's such an unsufferable tool. Won't be in power much longer. No, he won't be. He would be out of power tomorrow if the voters in Canada were afforded democracy, a democratic process. I mean, at what point has a coalition lasted this long? Ever? Like,
never. Actually, never. In fact, the average minority government in Canada has never been longer, is it 21 months? Or no, I think it's the longest, not even the average. We've never had a minority government go longer than 21 months. So congratulations, Trudeau. You have a coalition that lasted longer than that.
Well, a minority government that will go to the next scheduled election. Has that ever even happened in Canadian
No,
history?
because I mean, it's like he's not even giving us the opportunity. He's using every thing in his power to stay in power and to avoid, like, there's no confidence votes. I mean, I still tell this to people. People argue with me on this one. We haven't voted on 2 successive budgets. Budgets are supposed to have a confidence vote. He's introducing budgets through weird mechanisms. We haven't had, he prorogues Parliament if he has to. If he has to pass any law, like he just did this weekend, he'll use orders in council. I mean, he used an order in council to ban more guns instead of putting it through the demo. He was against orders in councils. He's done more orders in councils than anybody else. He's pro-rogue government. He's invoked emergency measures. Like, he's doing everything in his power to just stay in power.
That's it. It's just about staying in power. It's he literally is, what is it, Nero, the guy that would just,
the emperor playing the violin while Rome was burning. Absolutely.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He does not care about Canada. He doesn't care about the consequences, doesn't care. And this is why, you know, I put out from our last conversation a short segment of me just showing my frustration with how cynical this is. Like the bills that they put forward, they don't put them forward because they actually care about these topics. They just want to have a gotcha moment for the other side so it looks good in the next election cycle. That's really all they care about. It's that cynical. And it's not me being cynical, because I care about these topics. I care about these issues. And to see that happening, and Jagmeet Singh just holding this guy in power for his damn pension. Pension.
Jagmeet Singh this week voted against himself.
Yeah,
because, you know, just to clarify for the viewers, over the last 3 months, 4 months, like once Jagmeet ripped up his supply and confidence agreement, or whatever the heck he called it, then he started being critical of Trudeau all the time, right? Like he's basically saying, I don't support him, I don't like what he's doing. So the Conservatives wrote a motion quoting Jagmeet Singh, you know, saying, we agree with Jagmeet Singh that Trudeau is not worthy of our support. And they presented that as a motion.
Support workers. He doesn't support.
So they presented that as a motion. The motion is basically, do you agree with Jagmeet Singh when he says Trudeau is not a man of his word? And Singh voted against it. I'm like,
he didn't even vote for the vote.
He didn't. He voted by correspondence or by
And they asked him why he did it that way, and he just scoffed, and he's like, "Oh, they're just playing games. They're just playing games because that's what you're doing. It's the only course of action that it seems like will get anywhere, is to do their Twitter moment so that they can say, so they can revert. It's the Uno reverse card. It's so dumb that this is what we're even talking about.
Oh yeah, your quiz. Okay, you caught me on that one. It's like the Uno reverse card. Which one is that? That's the one where it goes back. Yeah,
it goes back on you because they're saying, oh, the Conservatives voted against the GST holiday, and this is why it's so cynical. It's because they don't care that that's actually going to drive prices up. They don't care that that's what's the product of that action. They just wanted to do something that they knew would be ineffectual, but sounds great. And it looks like something that the Conservatives wouldn't vote for. Because if it was a genuine tax break, the Conservatives would be all over that. They would be all over it.
Well, and you know, that's actually a part of government that I hate. I do hate the part where no matter what, you know, you have to vote against even good ideas. I mean, not an example. I mean, I think it's a bad idea, and it's okay for the Conservatives to vote against it. But I don't like that part of the back and forth. You know, I learned something a little while ago. You know, we're talking about confidence votes. Confidence votes should be absolutely rare, and therefore they should be serious, right? and a confidence vote, sure, then you whip your party members to vote in line with you. But to me, I just learned that historically in the good old days, MPs weren't whipped. MPs used to be free to vote with their conscience. This whole idea of forcing them to vote again with the party line is relatively new. Like, I guess it's in the last 20 years kind of thing. So it'd be nice if we could go back to that, because I mean, like, yeah, I do agree. There are some times where all parties should be united and some ideas are actually good. But the GST, this one, definitely not one. And it's not passed, right? The GST break will happen. Yes, you will get a GST break. But the $250 check, that's not passed. That one might not make it before the end of the year.
So this is one I put out on Twitter, and it was a lot because I just wanted to show off what Grok can do with the new AI photographs, because it's doing really, really good here.
Wow.
But I wrote the disparity between the ruling class, because they keep calling themselves leaders, they keep calling themselves rulers, whatever, right? They're representatives. They should be seen as representatives, and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and that's represent us. But the disparity between the ruling class in Canada and the rest of us has really grown. Christopher Freeland talking about us being able to afford that rotisserie chicken. Justin Trudeau bragging about a GST tax break that will save the average Canadian $4.51 over the holiday. And that was reported by the Blacklock's reporter that that was, I think it was the parliamentary budget officer or someone like that calculated that. Meanwhile, they're doing all quite well off on our hard-earned tax dollars through their inflated salaries and billions that they've embezzled, as we've seen over and over and over again, awarding themselves contracts for their own companies, you know, whether it's legit their own company or their crony friends, or they just forgot to stop doing business when they took their MP job.
Even simple things like an MP's salary is indexed to inflation, their expenses are indexed to inflation, everything. So they really don't care. Like they're not personally motivated to keep costs down. Even here in Alberta, that was a bit of a controversy this week. The MLAs got a raise for the amount of money they're allowed to expense for hotel rooms. Sure, I get it that when they're on the road, then they're doing business for Canadians, but at the same time, they're immune to inflation and the rest of us aren't. And so it's frustrating. It's a topic I've been talking about a lot lately. Canadian, you and I have been talking about this for 2 years now. What's that tipping point? Like, what's that pain that Canadians are finally going to say, I've had enough? Like, we're getting close. We're finally getting close. What is it going to
be? What is it going to be? Because I thought it was going to be, you know, the expensive bacon, and that came and went.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be flights to Florida or Cuba, and people would be upset about that. But nope, they're still going to Florida and Cuba, and they're not buying cars. I know that they're driving their beaters a lot longer. Well, that's the other funny thing about the GST. Like, people, the break on the GST. Sorry, Christian, but we don't even people are literally shutting off their Netflix subscriptions and their Disney Plus subscription, and they are going to the cash register and they are asking the lady, what am I at? And when the girl says you're at $150, they're taking the ice cream and they're putting it back in the cart and going home without the ice cream. So the Canadians are, you know, your $4 tax break is that's not what people want at this point.
And it's crazy to me because they just keep griping about their government jobs and the situation they got. You know, you might not get your presents this year, Marty. And a lot of the people viewing right now might not get their presents this year because there's a bunch of people that are taking their time off. Why? Because it's hard. It's hard, Marty.
Going with this one. Yeah.
It's hard. You know, from delivering parcels through scorching heat waves to battling blizzards, Canadian postal workers increasingly face extreme weather conditions that strain their bodies and their minds, Marty. Whatever are we going to do? I got fed up with this one.
Yeah, don't go talk to a farmer. Don't go talk to a welder who welds outside, or a carpenter who's building a house in the middle of winter, or Yeah. Or tow truck driver who has to go pull your car out of the ditch or boost your battery. Like,
but they're union workers. You know how many people would love to take their job? You know how many people would just love to take that over? I wrote this on Twitter. I said, quit then. Cheeseless crust. I'm tired of people bitching that their jobs are hard. Yes, jobs are hard. Quit and make some room for other people willing to do it. Just get out there and find another job.
Yeah, you and I are cut
I
that
didn't
way.
I didn't like being out in the cold anymore. I didn't like being out in the cold anymore. So I went and got my automotive ticket. I was working in open pit mines, and I'm like, nah, not doing this anymore. And now I have a roof over my head. It's still cold. It's still, there's weather. There's all the things, but whatever. If I didn't like that, I would move on and get another career.
Those Canada Post guys, I commented on that this week. They're not even striking properly. They're too lazy to strike. Like, I drove by, like there's a,
you should just get, what do they call them? Scabs.
Yeah,
see what they would do if scabs went in and took their jobs.
We have a sorting facility not too far from us. There's a sorting facility, and I happened to drive by it the other day, and there was nobody there. Like, there was 4 people picketing, and I'm sure there's 800 people that work there. So I'm like, God, you guys are too lazy to even properly strike.
They should just bring in scabs. I'm telling you that I think that would probably be the solution.
I think Canada Post workers are going to regret this one, because they're not getting sympathy from the average Canadian. They won't get any sympathy once we're already at the point now where people have adapted. They've realized that, I can't send a Christmas card to grandma. And I even made I buy things from Amazon. I was going to buy something from a non-Amazon vendor the other day, and I said, I better not, just in case.
I can't sell coffee right now. This is the
right, because who do you use? Do you use Canada Post, or you use
Canada Post? Yeah. So we're looking at permanently getting rid of Canada Post as an option for
which
coffee.
You will. Yep.
Yeah, and we're probably going to end up going with Amazon, having an Amazon storefront or something to save people some cash on delivery. And nope, sorry, Canada Post workers. Here's a little less contributing to what it is that you're, at the end of the day, we're just going to prove that we don't need them. That's what it's going to come down to. And people are going to do it incidentally because they just don't want to be caught in this situation again, at a rush time holiday, something like that. And they're caught like, wait, I was about to rely on you and you're going on what?
Well, I think I told you on the show a couple of weeks ago, like, I never had a Uber subscription, right? I knew Uber existed, but then one day I got out of the plane at the airport, and the taxis were on strike. And I'm like, why are you guys on strike? And they were protesting Uber. I'm like, okay, well, that's silly on your part. So I pulled up my phone, got my Uber subscription, and called an Uber. So, in some instances,
you probably never turned back, right?
Yeah, no, never. Like, I haven't taken a taxi ever since. I mean,
because now you've got it on your phone. You wouldn't have ever put it on your phone if it weren't for that stupid strike. People don't realize how much they're shooting themselves in the foot.
And these Canada Post guys, I think they are shooting themselves in the proverbial foot. For the CIA, CSIS, who's listening, we're not recommending shooting people in the foot.
Well, we won't be shooting anything pretty soon because of Justin Trudeau's new order in council. You just left me a perfect segue into that.
And I was in a good mood. Don't even go there.
Well, you already have a lot of stuff that went on that first ban, and that.
No. I have no banned firearms.
We were going to go on that boating trip, though, right?
Yeah, I lost them all. I don't know where they are, but I lost them all.
So, okay. So for those that don't know, the order in council came out on Friday night. I did a live stream talking exclusively about it, getting into some of the details, talking about that. So we don't have to go over a ton about what that was. Essentially, long story short, TLDR, they banned a bunch of guns a few years ago. They just put out an arbitrary list of guns that happen to be ergonomic or black. These are the only criteria for what it is.
Evil looking. Yep.
And they don't have any real clear definition because they call them weapons of war. There's no clear definition for that. But I'll tell you one thing: there are no soldiers that are like, yeah, give me your hunting rifles on the battlefield. No, don't want it. Please no. And they're just adding to a list. one point that I failed to make on Friday that dawned on me later was, hold on a second. Where's the logic with this? 2 years ago, they said to firearms owners, you're going to have to turn these ones in. There's a list. The other ones are good. We want you to go exchange what you have for these other ones. They gave all the other ones were carte blanche, go to the store and buy those. You people obliged, they went and bought those. And now the government's coming around and saying, yeah, no, those ones too.
Yeah,
So,
well, yeah, to your point, like, even though they didn't quite specify why certain firearms were banned 2 years ago, manufacturers saw a pattern, right? They said, okay, they don't like magazines that hold more than 5. So manufacturers modified and made guns that couldn't accept a magazine that held more than 5. Little things like that. So yeah, they banned the replacement. They said this again. Actually, I talked about this yesterday, a couple of days ago, when the minister was talking about this at one of the committees, at the safety committee this week. He was asked that question: what if somebody turns in their firearm, gets compensated for it, and then goes to Cabela to buy a new one? He said they won't be able to do that. He's already thinking ahead now. He won't. The way he's talking, they just want to ban firearms. Like, they're just going down
they
that
just
path.
want
They're
a blanket ban. That's their goal. It's very clear at this point. They've been trying to masquerade saying, no, there's no reason to defend yourself with a firearm in Canada. So therefore pistols are
look at what they said. They've even said, we're going to take some of these firearms and send them to Ukraine because they need to defend themselves. It's like, well, what if we needed to defend ourselves as Ukraine? But hey, I just want to mention this.
Putin laughed at us with his executives, or whatever you call them.
Yeah,
they were talking about it and they were laughing because the Trudeau government was talking about sending 22s to the front lines of the freaking war in Ukraine against Russia. He was literally laughing.
I brought up one point on the internet, and a lot of people had brought it up as well, but there is one firearm that I would say meets the definition of a military firearm because it was used in conflict. So one firearm that's been used extensively in conflicts in the last 50 years is the SKS. It's a precursor to the AK-47. And the SKS officially has been used by militaries around the world, and they're sold as surplus firearms. And I guarantee you there's about 500,000 of them in Canada. We used to be able to buy them for $100. So it is officially a military weapon that's available. So that to me, it meets the definition of a military weapon because it's been used by militaries, right? It's not on the banned list. It's still, like, it's weirdly the only one that meets the proper definition. But you know why it's not banned? Because you know who has, of those 500,000 that there are, we gave them to natives. The government bought them and gave them to natives because it was such a nice, reliable weapon, and they use it for hunting. So they can't ban it. But then, and even in the Order in Council last week, they did make an exception. Some of the firearms that are banned, if they're still being used by natives, they're not banned. So the government's discriminating. Call it discriminating. Some people say it's not discriminating. They have to because of whatever section 38 of the Constitution. I'm like, no, they're discriminating. They're
discrimination, and it's discrimination on racial.
Yeah, because if there's a law that says they can keep if there's a law that says they can keep their firearms, then make a law that says I can keep mine. Like, it's, they're arguing conveniently that their hands are tied by the Constitution, which is weird, right? Like, they had no problem trampling my rights when they were when they didn't match that, they trampled my constitutional rights. But oh god.
Well, yeah, no kidding. I put this one out on the communities tab today because this one cracked me right up. I got to share this one with you. I considered selling my weapons back to the government, but after a background check and thorough investigation into the buyer, I determined the buyer has a history of violence and is mentally unstable. Big risk to everyone around it.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. At the end of the day, really, who are the people that are trying to disarm the populace? Why is it that they want to disarm the populace? Like, and that at the end of the day is their goal. I mean, their cards are on the table now. The cards are on the table. They're like, they tried to do it through the democratic process, get elected. The liberals are, they had a majority at first, and then they had an election, went to a minority, then another minority. Their popularity is dwindling. They brought in Bill C-21. Then they tried to shoehorn an amendment in at the last minute. That failed because of their moves. That completely failed. And since that didn't work through, the actual process that's supposed to happen, they go with the executive order. They go with the order in council, dictate. And that's, I mean, are we in a dictatorship? Is it like, this is how this government rules?
And I've talked about this. Ignore the fact that that they used an order in council to ban firearms. Maybe I've told this to people. Maybe you don't like firearms. That's fine, but you should still be worried about the fact that banning firearms is just banning or taking away property. So I've told lots of people, if you don't like firearms, that's great, but you've opened a can of worms now because you let the government do this. They can come after your diesel truck next year. They can come after your 2-stroke lawnmower. They can come after your jet ski. They can come after your house being too big, whatever. Like it, and then what I love is whenever I make these kinds of arguments, people go, "Oh, well, that would never happen." I'm like, please stop telling me that would never happen when talking about the Canadian government, because things that I thought would never happen in the last 5 years have happened so many times that
it's already being implemented. 2026, it starts. 20% of all automobiles from any manufacturer in Canada have to be zero emission EVs.
Yep.
And
you guys have another weird invasion of property rights in BC. You've been you got governments who've been preventing people to use their property any way they want to, right? Like you can't rent it. You can't have a short-term rental. And people go, well, that sounds legitimate. I'm like, no, that's the government putting a limitation on how you use your stuff.
See, people, this is the thing, and a lot of people do this, and even good people and well-intended people will do this. If it fits something that they want, they'll make they'll do these mental gymnastics to justify it. And oh well, we have a real problem with rental availabilities.
I accept limits on how I use my car because I let the government put a limit of 100 miles an hour. Yes, you've put, there are some limits that are reasonable, but we're just raising alarms that every time you allow more and more and more and more limits, you're fighting an uphill battle. Yeah, well, wasn't there another one around property this week? Wasn't some other rule? Was it just BC, or is it the federal government that's thinking? I think the federal government's thinking of going down the same path as BC and temporarily disallowing short-term rentals or something like that. Again, I mean, the government wants to solve they want to solve the housing problem. Yeah, you mentioned it at the beginning. You want to solve the housing problem by building more houses, reducing immigration, but then they just reduce the interest rates. With you and I know what that's going to do. That's going to
get those prices back up. And how many real estate agents are so happy that the interest rates have come down, so that
now
they can get out there and sell more homes.
The one saving grace there is that apparently, and I haven't been able to validate this, the smaller, I call them smaller banks, but the retail banks are not lowering their interest rates. So they're like the retail banks, they're still giving out mortgages.
The prime rate's gone down, but nobody else is passing that savings on to the consumer.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, because they're at high risk. We're at the highest risk now. We have so many more people because the prices are inflated and we're in a recession that there's a high risk of default.
Well, watching Tiff Macklin give his speech for the governor of the Bank of Canada, trying to justify his drop, he knows that dropping is the worst thing he could do. He had no choice. I mean, he's between a rock and a hard place. So they're going to go with, he's been convinced by Trudeau, go with more short-term relief and screw the long-term pain. We'll figure out the long-term pain. I mean, Macklin knows, he's doing the math in his head. Like I guarantee you at this point, the Bank of Canada's annual losses for 2024 is going to be in the 10 billion range. It's going to be absolutely disgusting. But Trudeau's already of the mindset that that's not his problem. Like even that order in council, that gun ban. Did you see what, attached with the gun ban is an amnesty period? Like they don't even know who's in. Like I'm in. Okay, do I have a banned firearm? Yes, I have a banned firearm. Right. So until I figure out, but they don't even know. They don't like. They've told me just store it. They're not prepared to buy it back or anything else. They don't even know what to do with this ban. All they've told me is don't use it. But there's an amnesty period because legally I'm breaking the law by owning this firearm, but they don't even know how to get around it. So the amnesty period is on until October 25th, 2025, which is 5 days after the election. So basically Trudeau's saying to everybody, if you want this gun ban to stay in effect, then vote for me. And if you don't want it, then don't vote for me.
That is the worst election
like
ever.
The worst election carrot ever, right? Like vote for me and I'll keep this ban in place. Sure, buddy. Yeah.
Oh, just insane. And at the same time, people are all talking about why people need to have firearms and why people should be able to defend themselves with firearms in Canada. We're actually at a point. I think there's a turning point in Canadian political discourse where people are looking at the crime rise in Canada, violent crime, home invasions, people, busting in at record rates. It's never been this bad. It's never been this bad. And Canadians are starting to go, maybe I should be able to use a firearm to protect myself. Maybe castle doctrine is a good idea, that, if somebody breaks into your house, that you can forget it. Carte blanche. Sorry, pal. But, I'm not yelling to the guy, hey, what do you got? I just want to make sure that I'm obeying the law there, Mr. Criminal.
Yeah,
they don't care.
And the crime rate is up. That's another statistic that is, well, not a day goes by where we don't hear about some really violent crimes, right? Like look at there was an incident, I think was it in Brampton? Like the car pulled up, got out, opened fire, shot two guys, but shot the wrong guys because they were in front of the wrong house or whatever.
They were the wrong people. Holy wow.
Yeah. And then actually, weirdly, it's not Canadian, but that story in the U.S. of that kid or whoever who shot that health executive there in New York.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know we were going to talk about this. But
no. I'm just mentioning it. I mean, I wasn't going to talk about it, but that's a bizarre story. Like,
that's a bizarre story. And that kind of goes down the realm of, well, let's just say it, woke culture and the inevitability of it. When you have this weird religious cult that takes place in the universities, in academia, this is what you're going to produce. You're going to produce someone who should be, for all intents and purposes, in the best position in life.
He's been given some good advantages. He went to school, college, whatever. Yep.
All of those things, grew up in an affluent neighborhood with affluent parents, did all that, but got that woke academia and taught him to be a raging socialist and hate corporations and took
victim.
It out.
He felt that he was such a victim that he had to go and shoot somebody else. He felt
justified in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a bizarre story because, well, the part that I found really intriguing is how quickly they found him, and then how quickly they pieced together his life story. I was like, wow, our stories, our lives are out there, man. Like it's like,
that's why the other people are more like the guy who took a shot at Trump. Come on, that he has no history on the internet. I don't believe it. And somehow he ended up in a BlackRock commercial. Like, really? What was that about?
The guy in New York, they found his graduation speech. They found something weird. Like he had bought a copy of Ted Kaczynski's book. Ted's the Unabomber. And then somebody had found.
Sorry, I thought you were gonna say Catcher in the Rye.
No, but and so he bought Ted Kaczynski's book, and then he left a critique of the book on Amazon. And so, and then his own critique of the book was his own manifesto for going out to shoot somebody. Anyways, we're digressing.
Oh man,
yeah,
yeah, a little
totally
bit
digressing.
But I wanted to. So one story that kind of ties it full round all the way back to the Trump story is the border services in Canada. It's crazy that they don't even know what's coming into the country. They have no clue. Here's a story from Global News saying, we don't know what comes into Canada by rail, border union head says.
That's not a good thing to say. Like,
no, it's not a good thing to say at all. Canada Border Services Agency has no infrastructure in place to search trains for bad stuff, people, and other goods crossing illegally into the country by rail. The head of Border Agents Union said, a security gap that adds concerns about an overall lack of enforcement at the border. Hey, you remember there's one guy with a really funny haircut down south that has a lot of those concerns. He shares a lot of those concerns.
I'm eating my words on this one because I'm on the record last week. I kind of said, because I saw Trump's tweets and I said, we're not the problem here. You got a southern border in Mexico that's like, to me, is porous and letting in millions. But I'm backpedaling here. Our border sucks. Like it's
awful.
Like it's awful. It's transparent. Our guys are admitting that they don't know who's coming in and out. Stolen vehicles are going through there. Stolen drugs are going through there. We're letting in people at the airport, really bad people on wanted lists, and then we're letting them cross the border. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm taking this one back. Like,
the only thing that they're very proficient at is stopping smokes and
extra gasoline in your tank and children's clothes. Yeah, that they'll catch you
and new tires. That's
and you didn't go where I thought you were going to go with this story. The other story that came out with the Canada Border Safety Agency is they apparently lost a list of 30,000 people that they're supposed to deport. Like they
lost the list.
Yeah, like this guy's literally in committee.
How do you lose a list? It's on an email chain going through an attachment. It's on a hard drive. So
they can find. Yeah, they can find my bank account. They can find who donated to the truck convoy in Ottawa. No problem. That they can find those people. That's no issues. But 30,000 people. Yeah, like you think that basically the context of that question was people have expired visas. So now how do you know they've left the country? And the guy is literally like, we don't know. I'm like, you don't know. Wow. Watch. I encourage people, like, I encourage you and I don't encourage you. Watch committee meetings, like parliamentary committee meetings where they bring in some of these guys. Speaking of Rachel Gilmore.
I'm looking for it.
Are you looking for? Yeah. Okay.
I knew you were going there.
I wasn't going there, but it just popped in my head because yes, I watch. Okay, I'm one of those weirdos, folks. I admit I watch committee meetings, and I'd rather watch committee meetings than the House of Commons. The House of Commons is absolutely crap. Some committee meetings once in a while are pretty good. You know, we talked last week, the one of Lauren Southern when they brought her in to talk about foreign interference was great. Then they brought in Chris Sims to talk about the CBC. That was great. And then today, or was it yesterday that they brought Rachel Gilmore?
Unreal. Okay, I found the clip. So
don't play the whole clip. Just play the first 30 seconds. Nobody deserves to watch the hour long. Nobody.
No. I'm not doing the whole hour.
Yeah, start that one from start. Start that one from scratch. That's
Hey everyone.
So this, for people who don't know who she is, she was the insufferable reporter from Global who ended up getting fired for what I believe was her defamation against James Topp. But she had awful TikTok videos all through the pandemic, basically labeling anyone who didn't want to go along with medical interventions against their will were awful people, and she said some really bad things. Anyway, here's her.
She's brought in to testify on Russian interference. Like she's part of this whole NSICOP one way or another, which is bizarre.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. This is obviously a very important topic, and I have some big feelings about it. So to kick things off, I'm sure you all remember the Freedom Convoy.
Oh my God.
Yeah? Well, as part of my coverage at the time, I joined several Telegram channels and groups where organizers and supporters gathered to exchange everything from planning details to fringe conspiracy theories. And you might not have realized this, but it was actually just days after the convoy. Actually, you guys probably do know this. Just days after the convoy that Russia invaded Ukraine. Hey everyone! Thanks for having me.
Oh, hey everyone! I look at
feelings
Telegram.
I have feelings about this. Like, oh my lord!
Oh,
Like-
it really is that ridiculous. There was another testimony that took place at the same time. This was another one that was going viral yesterday. I'll pop this one up. It's her twin sister, I guess. This other character here.
I would challenge bluntly any conservative member of parliament on this committee to look me in the eye and say that Pierre Poilievre's comments about gender ideology are anything short of propagating conspiracy and hostility towards queer and trans people. Those comments throw gasoline on the fire of rising hate, even as we see the freedom and rights of members of our community restricted. And many of us, as you have heard, terrified about the direction Canada is headed in. I would urge those same MPs to tweet their support of transgender rights, our right to dignity, to freedom, and watch what happens next. Watch when your supporters turn on you and accuse you of supporting pedophilia, grooming, and all sorts of related filth, simply for supporting a minority's freedom. Watch as you are reprimanded by members of your leader's staff for showing your support for transgender people. I am scared.
So this
I
is
can't
ridiculous.
even joke about this one. Like, my blood pressure, just watching this, my blood pressure went up a bit. Like, I can't take these people seriously. I just can't. I just
well,
can't.
and this is why I tweeted this one out, because I thought this was poignant. I said there are no gay rights, there are no trans rights, there are no LGBTQ rights. We all have the same inalienable rights and are viewed equally under the law. Nobody wants to take that from you. What you're seeking are special privileges, and the answer is no. You just
I'll put them all under an umbrella. I'll call them human rights, and that's what I would say to them. Are you human? Yes. Well, then you're covered under human rights.
Yeah,
like, you don't need us. That's it. You don't need. We don't like. We're getting almost into the realm of science fiction, right? Like, there are some science fiction. There's some science fiction novels that start talking about robot rights and human rights, right? Like, down in the future when robots. And then there are people who talk about animal rights, and I get that. Like, so animal rights, human rights. If you can't fit in robots, animals, and humans, if you can't fit in one of those three, then we don't need another set. Like, are trans? Yeah, what are trans? I don't even know what they are. Like, they're humans. If you're not human, then your argument is
what it is. This individual is it's a grift. It's a grift. It's you don't like me because you don't whatever, right? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Go look like an idiot. Go walk around with your wig on. Go. Wear too much. And who cares? At the end of the day, nobody cares. You can do that. You're probably going to find yourself in awkward situations socially. That's a given. And you can't tell people that they don't have to feel awkward around you, because you can't change. You can't control that. At the end of the day, nobody's saying that you have to go to jail for it. No one's saying that you have to community service or have to be locked up in your home. Be you. And I support people being themselves, but at the end of the day, it's you haven't lost any rights. Zero.
And I'll push back a little bit. Like, it's not that nobody cares. We're Canadians. We generally care, and I don't want anybody to feel threatened and not enjoy their life. So we care, but you've pushed too far. These guys have pushed too far. Like, they've pushed to the point where we're like. We gave you your own bathrooms. You weren't happy enough. We gave you your sidewalks. You weren't happy enough. We put the flags up at City Hall. You weren't happy enough. We gave you the parades. We gave you the library drag time stories, and you weren't happy enough. So now people are saying enough is enough. I don't even know what that video was. Like, was that this week? Was that a committee?
I think that was at the same committee.
It couldn't have been the NCCOP committee, would it? Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. It was at one of the committees. Whatever the case, it was just one of those things. It just juxtaposed, popped up in my timeline right around the same time. But that's ugh,
Yeah.
mean,
No, that's
insane.
we need to get invited to one of those committees. Like, how do we get invited? You should go. I want to go.
I want to
Somebody
be
invite
on
me.
one.
Yeah, I want to be
Yeah,
on one.
I'll speak. I'll speak about stuff. I'll talk about the dangers of property rights in
I
being
wonder
taken
what
away in
the
Canada.
fallout will be for Rachel. I don't. If she thought that was going to win her some points, like you know, she was Valley Girl. Like, oh, I have feelings about this. Like we're in a committee here exploring like Russian interference. Okay, it's not about feelings; it's about facts. And boy, oh boy, oh boy. Hey, one last story. We didn't talk about this one because it wrapped into other things, but we didn't talk about Trump's visit to Paris this week.
Oh, right, because I didn't hear much about it.
Yeah,
I know that I know that Trudeau avoided it.
Well, so I just want to put it out there real quick. So Notre Dame, the big cathedral in Paris, burnt down about 5 years ago, and God love the Parisians. They rebuilt it quickly, unlike here in Canada where 100 churches are burnt down and we haven't rebuilt one of them. But so world dignitaries were invited there. Trudeau was snubbed. He didn't go, which is hilarious because remember, like I think Trudeau was betting on the fact that Trump would never get reelected. Then Trump gets reelected. Trump makes a bit of fun of Trudeau. Trudeau last week desperately said, well, I'm still getting calls from people all over the world asking me for my advice on how to handle Trump. No, they're not. We saw it this weekend. Nobody's calling you, Justin. Like people were pretty happy to see Trump. They're going around there. They're shaking hands. They don't need Trudeau's advice on how to handle Trump. You know how do you handle Trump? Don't be an idiot and talk like a grown up and bring up some intelligent subjects, and you'll do just fine with Trump. And
when your country is falling apart after 9 years of your rule, don't come in and tell people that they're making bad choices when they're clearly making the right choices.
People in, what's the expression? People in glass houses shouldn't be throwing rocks or whatever. Like Trudeau has nothing to brag about back home. Nothing. Yeah. No, it was an interesting visit. The other thing that was interesting last week, have you seen the little romance that's happening that seems to be happening between Elon Musk and the president of Italy? Like Elon is there.
Meloni?
Is that her name? Oh my God. She's it's all over the internet. Like every time she's with Elon Musk, it's like, wow, the admiration in her eyes. And she's kind of like holding him by the hand and like, come here, look at my big Italian flag or whatever. And it's like, and then they juxtapose it with her sitting next to Trudeau, and the disdain in her face is actually, well, let's save some of these for next week. The other one I wanted to talk about, we'll talk about it next week. But Milei in Argentina had zero deficit. Like he was bragging about it. Oh, there you go. You were ready to talk about it. Yeah,
I was
okay.
Actually. It was something that I thought of. We should talk. We should at least mention. We can talk more about this next Wednesday. Or the next Thursday video,
or in the next hour segment after people come online. I mean, we're right on the 1 hour now, so.
But I want to keep people updated on what's happening in the Spanish Americas, and
this is a model for the world. The whole world needs to see what he did. There might be some unintended consequences. I guarantee it. Right? It's still too early, but I mean, it does show what political will can accomplish. I kind of have a feeling that at the end of the day, Argentina will do just fine. This isn't going to send him into a recession or whatever. This might actually blast him into a very prosperous time.
This is so awesome, though. Like, listen to this. Milei, Argentina ends deficit for the first time in 123 years. Deficit was the root of all our evils. Without it, there is no debt, no emission, no inflation. Today, we have sustained fiscal surplus free of default for the first time in 123 years. This historic achievement came from the greatest adjustment in history and reducing monetary emissions to zero. Monetary emission. I think that.
I think it's just the translation's probably a little bit off, right? Like this would have been something that he said in Spanish, but
I kind of like that to say, like,
if
we want to have zero emission, how about reducing monetary emissions? That would be great. A year ago, a degenerate. He's talking about the former president, printed 13% of GDP to win an election, fueling inflation. Today, monetary emissions is the thing of the past. So yeah, this is amazing. It's amazing to see. And of course, like you said, this is a model for everybody.
For us to do something similar, like our GDP, Canada's GDP is like, you know, $20 trillion. So that would be the equivalent of quickly printing like 206 no. Yeah, 200 and no, it's 2.6. Holy shit. That'd be like printing $2.6 trillion in Canada, like 13% of our GDP. Wow, is that what he's saying? That his predecessor just literally printed, yeah, he said it. He printed 13% of their GDP. Wow. Yeah, that would, like, I wouldn't even want Trudeau to print like, you know, 2% of our GDP. That's a ginormous number. Well, look at our debt, right? Our debt is 40% of GDP. Our debt is 40% of GDP. That's what Trudeau keeps bragging about. Hey, we got it at 40%. So this guy goes and prints 13% in 1 year. It took us 160 years. Wow. Yeah, okay. Hey, maybe it's time to go visit Argentina.
I'm thinking about it.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
I'd like to go down there and see how things are, see it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
Because
awesome.
There's some amazing things that are happening in the Spanish speaking world. I want to keep up to date on all this stuff. One of the great things about YouTube is you right now you can get YouTube videos where the subtitles auto generate. It auto populates in your own native language. But pretty soon coming up is going to be AI that actually translates and reconfigures into an audible spoken language in the YouTuber's own voice. So I'm looking forward to that.
I did my first AI movie today. There was nothing animated about it, but it was pretty quick and pretty sharp. I just typed in a paragraph about the GDP and the debt and stuff like that. It's a very short paragraph, and then I fed it into the AI, and then it picked 50 different images to match the language, and then did the transition. The only thing I chose was the voice and made a few adjustments, but I was able to make a video in about I'd say under 10 minutes. AI is definitely for content creators. It's transformative. This stuff can't be done. This stuff can't be replaced by AI. So we can augment it to do a little bit of research for us. But at the end of the day, I
agree. AI has been doing some fantastic things, including this clip right here.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. This is obviously a very important topic, and I have some big feelings about it. So to kick things off.
Anyway, that's enough of that. Did you notice the Honorable Governor, Great State of Canada at the bottom?
Yeah. No, that's... oh my God. Yeah, she's going to become, hey, we're just feeding her off her obsession. I mean, she's happy to be notorious.
I'm sure you all remember the Freedom Convoy.
Yeah. Anyway,
I have some big feelings.
Marty, where can people find you?
Marty Up North on Twitter. Yeah, find me on Twitter. Come interact with me. And don't be upset if I don't respond to everything. I get a lot of comments, but I try and respond and engage with as many people as possible.